Yes, record. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm trying to not drink coffee anymore, but then I got nervous like 15 minutes before this class, and I was like, what if I'm low energy because I haven't had coffee? So I'm drinking coffee now. Anyways, I hope you're great. We're going to wait a couple more minutes as everyone files in. I think we have 500 people signed up for this class today. So if you're watching this in the future, hello, friend. I'm sure not everyone will be joining us live because it's the middle of the day on a Tuesday. And before we get started, we'll jump into this class in 1 minute. I'm going to pull a card because if you know me, you know that I have stage fright and it helps me sort of ease my nerves if I pull a card before a class. So throw into the chat 1, 2, or 3. I actually have 6 tarot decks in front of me right now, but we're going to choose from 3. So pick 1, 2, or 3. Let's see what everyone wants. And that's the deck that we'll pick from today. Don't worry, we've got 2 more of these classes. So we'll use a different deck every other time. For some reason, I cannot turn the waiting room off. So I have to actually let you guys in manually. 2, 3, 3, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I feel like the 3s have it. Let's go with it. Surprisingly, okay, 3s. I'm going to pull from this deck. It's called the Lightworker Oracle deck. I don't know if you can see it. I never use it. It's Ethan's. Ethan is my partner. I knew that he was the man for me when I walked into his house and he had as many tarot decks as I did. It's a true story. Okay. So let's just see what is in store for us today, and then we'll go ahead and get down to business. It might help if you just close your eyes and you ask for a message. You also don't have to. You do whatever you want. All right. Cool. I'm pulling one more card. I always pull from the bottom of the deck. Woo! Okay, great. Our hint card was 1111 messages in the numbers. Sorry, you can't see it because I've got this crazy thing on. And then our other card was so this is obviously number 11. And our other card was Earth Healing. It kind of looks like this. And I'll read the message that goes with our first card. Oh, and I opened right to it. Okay, cool. You're making a real contribution to the planet through your spiritual journey. Remember this and believe, remember this, there we go. Remember this and believe that your needs will be generously met by the earth and the universe. What you're doing matters, and you will be supported. You're here to have a spiritual life journey in a human body. Part of that process will involve sharing your light with the earth itself. This may, dang dude, this may see you take on the role of a healer, guide, mentor, or teacher to others on the path. It may see you doing work in the natural world. It may also involve an active spiritual life that is ongoing through your day, praying for assistance, compassion, clearing, and blessing when you see an accident on the road, on an animal or person who seems to be suffering, or learn an item of news that you know needs light and healing. Okay, cool. So if you had any questions about what you're supposed to be here for, I hope that resonated and was helpful for you. Did anyone vibe with that? Maybe, yes, no, vibe check? Okay, amazing. Cool. Fabulous. So, okay, great. We're still coming in. I'm gonna go ahead and put that away for now. And before I get started, oh, I love that heart, Sharona. If you could let me know who you are. If you were here last week, yay, I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome back. If you're one of my students, hi, I love you. And if we don't know each other, I love you too. I just don't know you yet. So I like to know who I'm teaching. If you could pop into the chat and let me know your name, your pronouns, and where you're tuning in from in the world, and maybe what you want to learn today, if there's something in particular that called you to this class. So pop into the chat and let us know. And if you want to take a moment to add your pronouns into your name, that's also super helpful. If you want to stay for questions later, this helps me not misgender you, which I really don't want to do. So just a heads up. Hi, Lauren. Hi, Emma. Welcome. Freya in Germany. Oh, Son 1111, June. Nice. Very cool. Hi, V. Welcome back. Hi, Carrie. Yes, North Noder. Yeah, and if you're a North Noder, add a little emoji or something in, or say you're a North Noder. Everyone who's in the crew who's watching this class are North Node members, our community of intuitive, innovative leaders that are really amazing. And if you ever have questions, you can always ask those people. You know how Mr. Rogers always says, like, go find the helpers. They're definitely the helpers. Okay, Marta in Budapest, cool. I'm so bad at charging people and thinking about money. I'm sure you're actually much better than you think you are, and you're definitely not alone in that, because a lot of healers and people who want to help others have a hard time asking for money in return. What up, North Node? What up? All right. Yes. Hi, Abby. Okay, amazing. Here to expand on intuitive wisdom. Learn about revenue in an authentic way. I am so open to receiving money and just need it to come. Yeah, I understand. I can relate to that. Okay, cool. Great. Well, the chat is here for you. So please pop questions into the chat. I can see it. I can see it the whole time I'm presenting. And I'll also have time for questions at the very end of this class. Nicole, here to gain intuitive alignment for my business and tie to equity and love. Dope. We can definitely talk about that. I'm going to spotlight myself just so you can see me. And I will talk about, if you're curious about sliding scale, I feel like I'm a bit hard to see in this color, so I'm going to move myself over to blue. Is this a little bit better? Can you see me a little bit better with the blue? Or, okay, cool. We can talk about sliding scale during the questions. I'm not going to talk about that while we're talking about revenue, but we can talk as long as you want about it, for sure. And we actually have a podcast episode coming out on this, and we recorded it today. So if you want to dive even deeper on that, that's something that's available for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, I'm so glad you liked today's podcast. Yes, and if you want to talk a little bit more about revenue, or you want to listen to me talk about more about revenue, we launched a podcast episode today on the 6 keys to 6-figure business. So that's something that we can definitely discuss more. Okay, let's dive into it. What do you say? Yes? What do we think? Pop an emoji into the chat. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know. Tell me how you're feeling. I'm already sweating in my armpits. It's every time. It does, like, without fail, I can't make it stop. It's just my nerves. Okay, cool. Great. I got a couple woos. I'm going to take it and let's just go. All right. So this class today is on revenue. It's one of the 4 pillars of intuitive business, alongside growth, revenue, retention, impact. I taught a class last week on growth. Today's on revenue. 2 more classes in the next 2 weeks on retention and impact. But today is one of my most favorite classes to talk about, because I feel like it's the one thing that everyone thinks is actually their business, right? Everyone thinks their business is just the revenue pillar, but it's not. Our business contains all 4 of these pillars, and revenue is a key component. It's actually more of a connector than a pillar, I would say. So let's dive into it. What do you think? On today's plan, we are going to talk about the 4 pillars of intuitive business. If you came last week, you probably already know them. We're going to talk about how to set revenue goals in your intuitive business, or how you can, because there's no one right way to do things. I'm just going to teach you a couple ways that I've tried it and that I really like, and you can take that with a grain of salt if you want. We're going to talk about product versus service-based businesses, what the difference is and how that impacts your revenue and your revenue goals. And then I'm going to deliver actually 2 of the best revenue tricks ever, but I mean, that's what I think. That's my opinion. You can let me know later. Okay. And who am I? Why am I teaching this class? If you don't know me, hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the founder of Holisticism, and I'm so happy that you're here. I'm a Pisces, Sun, Cancer, Rising, Scorpio, Moon, so I have a lot of feelings. I sobbed uncontrollably last night watching Netflix by myself. It's fine. And I also love all things mystical and magical and intuitive, because they're things I care about. I used to work in tech, much like this cat just pounding away at a computer. That's what my life felt like. And I took my 6 years in tech and started Holisticism to sort of try to bring in a new dimension of what an intuitive business could look like. So a lot of what I've learned comes from my background in tech and scaling tech companies. I'm also a witch. So there's that. There's a black candle burning over there, and my altar is over here now. Maybe I'll turn it so you're not gonna be able to see it because of the program that I'm using, but it's a very Italian altar at the moment. There's some red wine, some oregano. The Italian ancestors are loving it. And one of my favorite things is email, which is what I love talking about in teaching and helping people grow businesses. And my other favorite thing is Olipop. If you don't know, now you know. Go do a Google. It'll change your damn life. Okay, so now that you know who I am, and really everything that I'm about, that's pretty much it. Let's talk about the 4 pillars of intuitive business: growth, revenue, retention, and impact. Now, last week we talked about growth. Who was here for the growth class? Just like either do a hand raise or do an emoji in the chat, just so we know. Okay, I just want to see how many repeats we have. Okay, cool, great. If you missed it, that's totally fine. I'm not mad. I can send you the replay. It's all good. It's actually on our YouTube channel. If you just Google holisticism, if you want to catch that. But we went into an hour and a half on growth and how to build growth goals, because that's the first pillar of intuitive business. I'll reference some of the things I talked about in that class today, but I'll also repeat the most important things just so you don't miss anything. Let me move my face over. Okay, so growth is the first pillar, revenue is the second pillar, retention is a third pillar, and impact is a fourth pillar. Most of the time in our intuitive businesses, or really in any business, we focus mostly on growth and revenue because we think that those are the things that we need in order to be successful. Honestly, patriarchal extractive capitalism has taught us that the only things that we need are to continuously grow and expand at a rapid rate and to accumulate wealth. And when actually, we're dawning on the age of Aquarius on December 21st, and we're walking into a totally different paradigm and new dimension. So that's not going to cut it anymore. If it might have worked in the past, it's not going to work now. And I think 2 extra things that we need to be thinking about are retention and impact. Retention can be how we sort of like replenish ourselves, and impact, of course, is the legacy and the impact that we're having on others. But today we're going to talk about revenue, and while we look at these goals and we sort of break them off from each other independently, they're never quite independent. They're actually an ecosystem. So I think of them as like a smushy ecosystem where they're all kind of like pushing against each other and growing and ebbing and evolving and changing. And when our energy goes to maybe in one direction, that means that it might be depleted from those other directions. And it's helpful for us to be conscientious of the places in our lives or in our business where we might not be investing our energy 100%, and how we can make sure that those areas of our lives don't sort of wither up and die, that we're still nourishing them and supporting them. Same thing with our business. So, okay, my head's in the way, my big fat head. So as I said, these things all work together and they inform each other, but today we're going to talk about revenue. Yay. Okay, so what is revenue? Let me block this answer. Can you pop into the chat and just let me know what you think revenue is? When you hear that word, tell me what you associate with it. There's no wrong answer. So just, yeah, anything that you want. Money, dollar bills. Okay. Profits, net income. Nice. The best emoji ever. Cash flow. Great. Money coming in, not profits. Sales. No wrong answers. You also can, like, if you have an emotional connotation, maybe you can throw that into income pre-expenses, or if you're like, I have no emotional bandwidth for anything called revenue, that's okay too. Anyone else? Any other answers? These are all great. A real life business, that's great. Input, nice, Carrie. Want it, but don't want it. Stress, yes, thank you. Someone said it, stress, totally want it. Yeah, isn't it interesting to like desperately want something, but also you know that there's another aspect of you that's like, but I love not having that thing, like, or else I wouldn't be here, right? Freedom, gain. Does gain have a positive or negative connotation with it, or neutral? What the fuck? How do I do this? Both. IRS. Okay, great. So this is complicated, right? And anytime we talk about money, there are complex emotions that are associated with it. Because we're talking about revenue, we're going to talk about money because revenue is the money that you're earning in your business. But we can also think of revenue in other ways to help it to sort of wrap our brains around it. I know for me, when I think of things in very black or white sort of definitions and terms, I don't do well with it. There must be something wrong with my brain. I sort of need the like cushy, soft, artistic expression of what that thing could be or what it represents in my life in order to take it seriously and actually like relate to it more than anything. So the way that I'm going to talk about revenue in this class is through the idea that, I'm sorry, I'm just moving my face. Okay. The idea that revenue and resource are the same. Now, feel free to screenshot as many of these slides as you want. Please share them. Like, I don't care. Please. Or you can take notes. I'll also send you a replay of this class after. So if you just want to like take in this information, that's cool too. So revenue is resource. And when we think about resource, what do we associate with resource? Pop into the chat. We're not going to take as long this time, but just what do you think about when you think of resource? Help. Excellent. Money and time. Learning. Community. Hey, Alexa, I didn't see you in here. Flow. Okay, awesome. Great answers. So that's exactly right. Resource isn't just money, right? Although money can be a form of resource, when we consider ourselves to be well-resourced, we might have like buku cash in the bank. We also might consider ourselves to be very well-resourced if we have a ton of friends. We might consider ourselves to be really well-resourced if we have a roof over our head and we have groceries and we're well-fed and we have everything we need, but maybe we don't have that much money in the bank account, but like somehow our needs get met. Maybe we consider ourselves well-resourced if we have an amazing education, or we have access to like all the teachings and learnings that we need access to, right? So well-resourced equals a full cup. Yes, I love that. So we can be well-resourced in many, many areas of our lives. And given on any given day, where your resource cups, because you have multiple, are sort of like ebbing and flowing, right? You might be extremely well-resourced when it comes to your bank account, but have very little resource when it comes to spirituality or your spiritual connection. You might be medium well-resourced when it comes to money, medium well-resourced when it comes to connections, and amazingly well-resourced when it comes to spirituality or to knowledge, right? And those things are constantly ebbing and flowing and changing. So I find it helpful to think of revenue and resource as the same thing, especially if we're creating goals for the 2021 year, which was the point of this series, is to sort of scope out and create a spell for what we want to cast in the next year. We have to get clear on what it is that we want, right? The two rules of spell casting are you have to be clear on what it is that you're trying to bring into the world and what your intentions are, and you can't multitask. So you can't be like thinking about a ton of other things. And same thing, like when we're creating our goals for ourselves, right? We want to be really intentional and thoughtful. And when we're thinking about how we are resourced, how we are pulling money in, how we're pulling other areas of resource into our lives, we want to make sure that we're not thinking like myopically, that we're sort of playing out all the potential outcomes. Okay, so revenue can be resource in all the ways that we just described it. It can be income if you're thinking about in your intuitive business. It can be energy input. I saw someone say input there. And to me, it feels like summer. If we're thinking of the 4 seasons and we're relating the 4 pillars of intuitive business to a different season or cycle, to me, this is when all of the groundwork that you've laid, you sort of get to like bring it to the surface, shoulders out, cleavage out. We're just like enjoying our fun in the sun and we're getting to play, right? 111 participants just saying, thanks, Mia. That is awesome. I love that. Okay, so that's the theory of revenue. Now, what does revenue exactly mean in our business? Well, revenue is how do you make money, right? What products do you sell? What services do you offer? And effectively, how do you monetize what it is that you do? You don't have a business if you don't have a pathway to monetization. You might have an amazing community. You might have a brilliant idea. You might have an audience. But if you don't have a pathway to monetization, you don't have a business, because that's the definition of business, right? It's trading something, goods and services for capital, for resource. So when we're thinking about our revenue goals for our intuitive business, I want you to just start to get the wheels in motion of what are the products that you sell or the services that you offer, or what is your pathway to monetization if you're unclear on a product or a service. All good. By the way, there's no wrong answers, and everything that I'm going to explain to you or talk about with you in the next sort of 30 minutes, it's all play. We just get to experiment and explore and try different things. And don't be afraid to make a wrong choice or to have the wrong answer. It's not wrong. Like whatever your gut is telling you is right is the direction that you should move in. And all that I'm trying to offer you here is just information to help you make the best choice for yourself. Okay, so finally, when we think about our goals, we don't just want to think about from a business perspective, right? Or at least I don't want to just think about from a business perspective. I want to think about how I want my life to feel. And that's where resource comes in, right? Because yeah, we might have a revenue number or a salary number that we want associated with ourselves, or a goal that we have for ourselves. Maybe you're like, this is the year I make 100K, or maybe this is the year that I make 50K, or maybe this is the year that I make 500 million jillion dollars. Okay, whatever your goal is, great. But I have a feeling that you're a much more multidimensional human being, that you don't just like have a money goal because you're not Scrooge McDuck, right? You want other things in your life. You want to be resourced in other ways. And we need to think about that. And it helps to also think about that in our business. Where else in our business can we be resourced beyond like, financially or with capitalization? I'm getting a little riled up, but when it comes to our personal goals on revenue or resource, ask yourself, where do you want to be better resourced? Maybe you want to have better relationships, or relationships that you feel like you can count on, that feel actually like a place that you're supported in. Maybe you want to create more connections with people, either in business or in your personal life. Maybe you want to be well-resourced when it comes to your spirituality. Maybe you actually want to be really well-resourced in free time. You want more time. Maybe you want to be well-resourced in a certain set of skills because you know that you need those skills in order to achieve or accomplish whatever it is that you've set out to do in the next year. When I think of revenue and when I think of resource, I think of support. So how can I feel? What does support look like for me in my business, in my work, in my life? Any questions about that before I move on to the next slide? No? Okay, cool. Great. And you can always save questions for the end because we will hit them there. Okay, so when it comes to setting revenue goals, how are we going to do this? I hope everyone has a pen and paper, but if you don't, that's totally okay too. You're going to get this replay. It's all good. So when you're setting your revenue goals, something that I want you to think about is actually your other goals, right? Because remember, this is an ecosystem. We're not like working in an echo chamber here, simply thinking about how we're going to like make an amazing ATM out of our bank account, right? No, we're thinking about how we're going to grow, how we're growing, and the areas that we're growing in, and how that will impact and affect our ability to make revenue. We're thinking about the impact that we want to have on our community and what it will mean when we make a certain amount of revenue, or how it will impact our community if we make a certain amount of revenue, and what the responsibility is that we hold for ourselves if we end up hitting those numbers. And what are we going to do for our community or for our legacy if we make a certain financial number or hit a financial goal. We also want to think about, if we are hitting a revenue goal, how we can hit that not just through growth, but through retention, right? Because if you have customers, if you have clients, yes, a large percentage of your customers will be people who are buying something from you, whether it's a product or a service, for the first time. But ideally, we want to set ourselves up so that we actually have a robust retention plan, meaning that the people who work with us over and over and over again. Why is this important? Because acquiring new customers constantly is very, very expensive energetically and financially, because you are constantly basically like you're basically like single serving people, right? You're treating people like disposable because you're like, oh, you work with me one time and then I never think about you again. And then I'm like on to the next person trying to capture them and acquire them as a customer. When in reality, we should treat people like people. I think we should treat people like people, and we should create real relationships with people. This is not a one-night stand situation. Although one-night stands are awesome, I think what most of us want are to have long-term relationships with our clients and with our customers. We want to show up for them and with them consistently over time. Because that, honestly, if you're a healer, a practitioner, a guide, that's how your clients need you. They don't just need you that one single time, right? Where you're like, cool, my responsibility is over. I did the one session with you. Now I never need to think about you again. It's very intimidating to think about the fact that you actually might hold some level of responsibility in creating an ongoing relationship with someone, but it's also so rewarding and so important for the longevity and the health of your business. So think about, how is your revenue and the products that you sell, how are you also going to be factoring in your retention? Next week, we're going to talk about retention in much more greater detail. So if you're like, oh, my interest just piqued, I've never thought about that. Or maybe you're a student of mine, you're like, yeah, we know, we get it, Michelle. Come to class next week because we'll talk about it a little bit more. Okay, so you're thinking about your other goals or the other pillars of intuitive business that revenue affects and impacts, because inevitably it does. Now, revenue and growth are like bosom buddies, right? They're usually the things that we think about the most when it comes to our business. And that makes sense because we can pretty much calculate our revenue just back of the napkin math when we take our conversion rate, which is how well we sell something, right? How often we convert people, multiply it by the number of people in our community, not the number of people in your audience, the number of people in your community. And then we get our revenue, or we can predict our revenue on the product or the service or the product and services that we're selling, which is why if you took last week's class, you know that an audience and a community are two very, very different things. Both are valuable. I would say that community is way more valuable. And this is why. This is why, because I'm reversed. Sorry, that was so confusing. Because an audience is going to have a much lower conversion rate. When you're just like talking anonymously, no. When you have a parasocial relationship to a gigantic group of people who like kind of care about you, but also like not really, don't really care about you, and you kind of care about them, but not really, your conversion rate's really, really low. Also, your life sucks because that's not fun, right? Life is about relationships and people. I think, I don't know. So we want to create communities because creating a robust community, of course, it's going to be better for your bottom line, duh, like again, but also it's way more fun to be in community than it is to like be on a pedestal with people looking up at you and liking you sometimes and also not liking you other times. Plus, community is co-creative, right? It means that we're all in this together. We're making this thing together. No one is like the king or the boss or like the guru. We're all helping each other. We're all supporting each other. So what if I don't know my conversion rate yet because it's my first launch? That's awesome. You're going to go and you're going to go practice because you're going to go start selling something, and then you're going to learn what your conversion rate is. And then your goal from there is to increase that conversion rate. And there are so many ways to do that. There are, from like the tactical stuff, which is like your emails and how often you're communicating with people and literally your copywriting, but also the more spiritual or mystical aspects, which we're going to talk about in a second. But the best way to calculate your conversion rate, I think, is to track your emails and when you're selling something via email, because you'll see exactly how many people got your email as opposed to like, well, I think about 1,000 people heard about this product. You'll know exactly how many people joined, and then you'll be able to see exactly how many people ended up purchasing that product. So that's an easy way to calculate your conversion rate. Okay, cool. Thanks, Courtney. That was a good question. All right. So our second goal is, what you can pay yourself, baby. We got to think about your salary. I know you're like, no, I couldn't possibly get paid for what I do. God forbid. Helping people? Never. I could not. Yes, you actually can. And you should get paid for what you do. You should get paid for what you make. Can you imagine walking up to someone who you admire and respect and trust, who does incredible work, and telling them that they don't deserve to get paid for what they do? When you are, when you get anxious or you feel like you don't deserve to get paid for helping people or for doing your work, that's effectively what you're mirroring to the world and what you're telling other people. You're telling other people that actually, I don't think that you deserve to be resourced and supported by the work that you're meant to do on this planet. And that's objectively shitty. You deserve, in case you need to hear it again, you deserve to be resourced and supported by the work that you do. You deserve to not be living paycheck to paycheck. You deserve to have a savings account. You deserve to have health care and to be able to pay for it because the government in the United States won't. You deserve to be able to rest. And you deserve to have everything that you want to feel supported and resourced to do your work and to live your life. Because when we can operate from that place, that increases our longevity, which means that we'll be around for a lot longer. And I think that we all want that. And that also means that you're going to help exponentially more people because you're not going to burn out. So although it might feel uncomfortable, I really encourage you to decide what you want your salary to be. It can always change. It can always change. And you know what? You might need to get someone to help you. I had to have my accountant tell me how much to pay myself. So I'm not like a perfect specimen here, far from it, far from it. And it's still important for us to work through. If you want to know a little bit more about this and dive a little bit deeper on your own salary, I really recommend reading the book Profit First. It's one of my favorites. It's really it's really strategic and thoughtful and lovely. And it operates from this space of your business can't succeed and you can't succeed if you aren't supported. And that's really like, we should want that for everyone. We all should deserve to have our needs met, right? We shouldn't have to be like scrambling in order to just survive. We deserve to have our needs met, and we can make that happen in our own businesses. The title of the book is Profit First. I popped it into the chat. Christina, I feel like so many founders and entrepreneurs start without paying themselves, and I've never liked that. I don't know how I could start my business without being able to pay my bills. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I don't either. And I also want to say, if you're at the beginning of starting your business and sort of like at the beginning of this journey and you have a day job, I think that's awesome. I think that's fucking baller because you're effectively an investor in your own business. If you're taking the income or the revenue that you're making as a freelancer or at your 9 to 5 and you're investing it in yourself and the work that you're doing, you're an investor, and that's really fucking cool. So if that's where you're at and maybe you're feeling like uneasy about that or that's factoring into your goals, I just want to say like, there's no rush necessarily to get out of your 9 to 5. If it's not sucking the life out of you and it's actually giving you resource, right? It's giving you the energy to be able to do your work, then I think that that's a great thing. Oh yeah. Oh my God, Ashley, I don't know how you do all of that, but you sound like a total dreamboat. I hope that you have time to take naps. Okay. Finally, our last thing is, what are your anti-goals? What are your non-negotiables? So when you're crafting and creating your goals, of course, we want to think about everything else. We want to think about what salary we want to make, because that's going to be a portion of the revenue that our business makes. And that's going to help us project how much we need to make. For example, if you're wanting to make $100,000 a year, then your business would probably have to, I would assume that you'd probably want your business to bring in anywhere from 250K to maybe 400K, right? Especially if you're going to be hiring other people to help you, but it depends on what your margins are. And then we want to think about the anti-goals. What are our non-negotiables? What are the things that we are not willing to tolerate, that we don't want to happen? Sometimes we need to define what we want by defining what we don't want. So maybe your non-negotiables are, I always take weekends off. Or maybe your non-negotiables are, I can leave work whenever I decide to, or I can take time off whenever I need to go help a friend or be with my family. Or maybe your non-negotiable is, I was trying to think of something. I feel like those are my big non-negotiables. For me, it's always being able to make dinner for my partner because I'm a way better cook. And so if he cooks, dinner's not good. But also because I really enjoy it and I love having that time together. Fuck the gender roles, man, but it's important to me. So does anyone have, like, I'd like to hear maybe what non-negotiables might be coming up for you. This also, non-negotiables could mean like, I don't participate in projects that make me feel bad. or I don't partner with people who don't have the same value set as me. I don't work with racists. That's a really good one. Time for my spiritual practice. Yes. I don't work longer than an 8-hour day. My business is in service to my health. Yes. So an anti-goal would be like anything that takes away from my health or my well-being is something that I don't have to do. I won't work with people who give me bad vibes. Yeah, trust that. I don't work more than 4 days in a row. I love that. Making sure I always feel healthy and vibrant and feel good always. I love that. Flexibility to prioritize myself. Don't set alarms. That's a really good one. I don't work with anyone who condescends to me. Oh, yeah. Oh, I love that. These are really good. Really, really good. I don't work before my morning coffee. Damn, y'all. These are great. Okay, great. So you don't need my help. You're all good. Now, let's brainstorm. I'm going to give you like 1 to 2 minutes to just write down a bunch of ideas, no filter. Just go ahead and like type them out really fast or write them out. When it comes to revenue, what's coming up for you? Don't judge what's coming up. If you're like $5 million, great, write it down. It's all good. Like it can be what you might think of as the most ridiculous thing in the world, quote unquote, right? Doesn't matter. Just write out a couple of places to start. Okay. I did not give you a minute. Let me be quiet. Hold on. I'm just going to drink my coffee over here. Okay, great. So my request for you is that you block out at least 15 minutes after this class to finish writing out some of these goals. They don't have to be perfect right now. They actually they don't even have to be complete. That's totally fine. But I talked about this last week. It really helps to get in momentum on any project, any brainstorm sesh, anything that you're doing, to take like after that allotted time that you've given yourself to brainstorm, to actually get in motion, to get in action, and to just do one thing to give you some momentum. That one thing could be you write out your goals and then you make a Notion doc about them, right? Maybe that one thing is you write out your goals and then you schedule some time on your calendar to go even deeper. Maybe that one thing is you send an email to someone who you think can help you on your goal, on your journey. It can be super, super small, or maybe you'll actually end up working for an hour and you'll totally scope out your goals and your revenue plan for the next year. Who knows? But give yourself some time and actually give yourself the opportunity to succeed by creating space for momentum. Because so often what happens is we write down a set of goals or we brainstorm on a brilliant idea, and then we don't give ourselves time to execute. And then we end up never doing it, right? We lose our boner, right? We lose that excitement for it. And that sucks. I don't want that to happen to you. So make sense? Are we cool? Does that sound good? Okay, great. Fabulous. Let's get into the maybe a little bit more exciting part of this class, which is actually how to execute on these goals, right? So now that you've maybe created some goals, how are we going to make this happen, right? You wrote down I want to pay myself $100 or $200 or $400,000 a year. I always want weekends off. I never want to have a sense of urgency again. I never want to think about my alarm. How do we do that, right? How cute is that raccoon though? I mean, are you guys on raccoon TikTok? Because it's amazing. It's really cute. Although the raccoons are destroying my backyard. So they're kind of on my shit list right now, to be honest. Okay, so let's do a quick vibe check. First thing that you need to know about revenue and about your business and how to actually create some strategic goals for yourself is, what kind of business do you run, my dude? Do you have a service-based business? Do you have a product-based business? And do you have a little bit of both? Maybe you do. Service-based business practitioners. Anybody think that they have a service-based business? Hit me up in the chat. Cool. Yes. Okay. And maybe you're like, I don't know. Can you tell me what that is? Okay. A service-based business means that your revenue comes from offering a service. This could be something like readings or one-on-one work or group coaching. You could be a dentist or a Reiki practitioner who sees clients, or you could be a doctor, or you could be a coach, or you could be a social media marketer who is a consultant for companies, right? These are all service-based businesses. Agencies, those are service-based businesses. Basically, when you're trading your time for money, that's a service-based business. That's how I think of it. So if you're like a little confused about what it is that you offer, that might help. The key to scaling a service-based business is, first and foremost, getting booked out, right? So this is why our anti-goals are so important, because your revenue relies on how many hours you can effectively sell, right, in order for your business to work and in order for you to make more money. So if you say, well, every hour that I'm awake is an hour that I can sell, which is what I did when I was a consultant and when I owned a service-based business, you're going to get burnt out really fast, right? Because every hour that you're awake, you can be billing people. And that feels like the only way to make more money. Trading hours can blow, it can. But for some people, it can work really, really well, depending on what it is that you're offering. So the key to creating a service-based business that can rock your socks off is making sure you have those anti-goals and that you're setting yourself up for success with some healthy boundaries, but also getting consistently booked out, which is why retention is really, really important. So if you've got a service-based business, you're probably good at bringing new clients in, or you're medium good at bringing new clients in, right? But our goal is to actually retain those clients long-term. Because if we don't have to exert energy to keep people in, right, to like bring them into our orbit and to work with them, then that means that we can use more energy on serving the people that we already do have. Plus, we have a more reliable revenue stream because we can count on those people coming back over and over again. And that's effectively monthly recurring revenue, which is so much easier to plan for when in your revenue plan, as opposed to running a business where you don't ever know when the next paycheck is going to come in, where you don't ever know when a busy season is going to come or when a slow season is going to come, and you feel like you're in scarcity mode all the time because you're just like trying to hold on and make sure that you don't drown or that you don't starve when it's feast or famine. So that's why a really high retention rate is really important to think about in your service-based business. Okay. Product now. Okay, wait, hold on. Now that I've said that, is anyone like, wait, actually, I think I have a service-based business? Or they're like, I definitely have a service-based business. It feels like there's such a glass ceiling with solely service-based business at times. So much relying on you being well, or 100% at all times. 100 P. Like, I have depression, so I have days where like I just can't. I like literally can't do anything. I'm a pretty effective person most of the time, but sometimes I just sit down at my computer and I'm like, well, no. This won't work. This will not pass. And that's why I had to start my own business, because I couldn't like wake up and be expected to work on those days. I needed flexibility with my time and my space. And some service-based business can offer that for you, but another thing that can be helpful is having a product-based business. And we'll talk about having the two in a second, because that can be a really effective way to run your business. But before I get ahead of myself, product-based business simply means that your revenue comes from selling products, not your time. Now, those products could be physical products, they could be digital products, they could be another type of product that I haven't mentioned here because I can't think of a physical or digital beyond that could exist, but I'm sure there is. The key to scaling is growing your community. So in order to make more money in a product-based business, we simply need more customers, right? And so that is relatively easy in some ways. It just means that we need to grow our community. As opposed to in our service-based business, the way to scale is to be consistently booked out and to maintain a really high retention rate. And also, if we want to scale our business there, that means raising our rates. And that can be, if you have a commitment to equity and inclusion, that can feel out of alignment at a certain point, right? If you are a Reiki practitioner and you don't want to charge $700 an hour, but you really want to make more money, you're a little bit between a rock and a hard place, right? When it comes to scaling yourself. With a product-based business, that can be a little bit easier because you don't have to increase the prices on your products necessarily. You just have to increase the audience that you're talking to. And of course, retention is a really important aspect of a product-based business too, because if we create a product, we want to think about how that's single sale, meaning that we sell it one time. For example, this mug would be a product that I buy one time, probably. So the maker of this mug will probably want to think about ways that they could retain me as a customer, meaning that they want to think about other products that I might need, that they might be able to provide a solution for me. So perhaps they want to think about what I want to put in this mug, right? It says, fuck your coffee. Okay, great. Maybe they want to make like an herb-based drink that, and that's actually what this is from. It's from Mud Water, that would fill up this mug that I can buy every single month, right? So retention comes into play with both types of businesses, product-based businesses and service-based businesses, which is why it's one of the pillars of intuitive business. Also because we don't want to have single serve customers. We want to continue to pour back into our community and our people, and we want to provide for solutions for them long-term and listen to what it is that they need and to be able to show up for them. At least that's what I want. You don't have to want what I want, but that's what I want. Or maybe you have a business that's both and, right? Where you have a service-based business and a product-based business. Usually what happens is we start with a service. We start with something like you are really good at social media. And so you start taking on clients and you start doing their social media for them, and you create some sort of system. And eventually you turn that into a product. Maybe you make an app. Maybe you make like a framework. Maybe you train people in a certification for social media, right? That's usually the trajectory that businesses take. Sometimes people will do the opposite. They'll take a product and they'll turn it into a service. But most of the time, this is how we work. We start as service practitioners and we become people that sell products. When you start as a service-based practitioner, you have a great opportunity to create a framework or a method or a perspective that you're known for, because you are constantly testing and practicing it with your clients, and you're doing it in real time. And you're carving out your own way of doing things, right? And that's effectively what a methodology is. And then you can take your unique way of doing whatever it is that you do, whether it's writing or drawing or teaching or healing, and you can productize it. You can make a product out of it. And when you make a product out of what is your service, that means that you can scale yourself and you can scale your business. So you don't have to completely give away the service element of your work, but you can make yourself a little bit more accessible, because you can make yourself more scalable, because you're not trading your time for money anymore. And you can also deeply increase the revenue that your business is making. This is a really easy way to scale your work and add an extra comma onto your revenue. Tanya, what does scale yourself mean? It means that so if I were to teach someone for an hour, right, one-on-one, if I was teaching this as a service, as a coaching service, then I would have, for my 1 hour, I'd be teaching one person. I can scale myself by teaching 300 of you this class right now, right? That means I'm making myself more accessible. And that's why I can offer this for free, as opposed to offering it for $900 or something, right? So most importantly, what kind of life do you want to have? What kind of business do you want to have? Maybe you love working with people and like that's all you want to do, and you love talking to your clients and you love seeing them every day, and that's your jam. Maybe you're an introvert and you actually like low-key hate people, or you don't hate people, but you don't want to hang out with them all the time. And what you really want to do is work like 2 hours a day and have a product that you sell. Maybe you want to do a little bit of both. Maybe you love talking to people, but you also get really tired easily and you want your life to be a little bit easier. So a product could be a really cool way for you to grow. How do you want your work to feel? How do you want your life to feel? Because that's the point at the end of the day, right? Like, what are you doing with this one wild, beautiful life that you have? How do you want to spend your energy? How do you want to spend your time? So that all comes into play when we're deciding how we want to make our revenue and how we want to make our revenue goals, how we're going to accomplish or achieve those goals. I don't really like to use those words, accomplish or achieve, but like how we sort of like tap those goals, right? We're like, dang, did it, done, cool, or on my way, on my pathway to getting there. So once you've kind of figured out, I buried the lead here. Important. I want you to choose 1 to 3 different revenue streams or different products. Revenue streams are simply the ways that you're bringing in money. So pick 1, 2, or 3 different ways that you're going to be bringing in money. If you have more than 3, X them out, say no to them. Because when you first get started, or especially when you're trying to scale your business, it's really important to go back to simplicity and to do whatever it is that you do really, really well and to streamline it. And then once you've really nailed that, when you've got that system down, when you're like, I can do this in my sleep, I can make repeatable, reliable revenue consistently because I know exactly how I have to do it because I have the methodology or the formula to do it. Then you can add more in later, right? You can always add more later. You can always add more bells and whistles. You can always add more fancy software. You can always add more products, but make sure that what you're doing is working before you add more things onto it. And if it's not working, you got to figure out what the problem is. Because otherwise, it's going to fester and you're going to have gaps in your business that eventually will come back to haunt you. And that's not a healthy business, right? I think that's what we all want at the end of the day is an intuitive, healthy, aligned business, just like we want our lives to feel. In terms of revenue streams, do you mean like one specific product? I would recommend that. Yeah, I would recommend like 1, 2, 3 different products, or like I've got or maybe like an umbrella of products, right? Maybe you've got a suite of products that you sell for business owners, and then maybe you have a service that you offer. I'm really on this social media manager kick for social media managers, and then maybe you've got another service maybe you've got a certification program, right? That would be like 3 revenue streams. Okay, so once you kind of have in your mind's eye those revenue streams and what your revenue streams will look like in your business, whether it's product-based, service-based, a little bit of both, we're going to think about the energetic wave of our year. So we all have a unique energetic blueprint, and yours is probably different than mine. And you might not know initially when I mentioned that off the bat what your energetic blueprint is, because it's not something that we often talk about, but we all have one. I have the sort of energetic blueprint where I'm really amazing for like 3 days. And then I need to like be quiet and be in my room and not talk to anyone. And I'm pretty much useless for like 2 days. And that doesn't mean that like personality wise, I suck. It just means that my moment of highest potential and when I can get the most work done is during those 2 days or 3 days. And then I need time to replenish and recover and recuperate and to sort of like build myself back up. On our team, everyone is so different at Holisticism. Thais has she's on 1 month, off a month, on a month, off a month. And so she is like on fire for a month. It's amazing. She gets so much done. And then she needs some like downtime to rest and recover. And I know that now that I've worked with her for a year. And so we work with that when we work together. You're going to work the same way with your business and with yourself. Because when you understand your energetic wave, you can craft and design your business around you and what works for you. You don't have to follow anyone else's blueprint. So that might mean that this is a graph I drew. Oh man. Okay, so that might mean that you are like the yellow line, right? Where you're just like, woo, straight line. My energy is like always on lock and it's even. And I make the same amount of revenue every single day. I'm consistent. Great. That can be awesome. I think many businesses aspire to have the same amount of revenue every single month. Monthly recurring revenue businesses do this really, really well. So if you have a product that you can put on monthly recurring revenue or a service that you can make a membership or a subscription out of, then that will give you that yellow line. Could work really well for you if that's your sort of work style and business style and energetic blueprint. Maybe you're a little bit like me and you're the green line. So you're like, I'm feeling amazing. And then you're like, I need to go away. And then like, I'm feeling good again. And now I really need to go away. And then you have like a super high peak and you feel really, really awesome. And then you need to like go on vacation for a month and a half. Great. You can build your business to look like this. You can craft your own energetic blueprint, your own timing schedule based on the products and the services that you sell, and you can make it work for you. For us, this means that we don't sell things full time. We actually only open our doors at Holisticism 4 times a year, and it works really well for us. We like it. That means that I get to spend most of my time not selling things and teaching like this and talking to people and making dope shit and hanging out with my team and getting inspired. And then like 15 days out of the year, we get to sell some stuff that propels our business and keeps our doors open. And that's really cool. Maybe you're more like the purple line where you are consistently up and down. Maybe you have 1 month on, 1 month off, or maybe you sell something for the first 2 weeks of the month and then you're, quiet and shut down and building and getting excited and getting ready and laying the groundwork. And then the next 2 weeks after that is when you're selling something again. And it's a little bit more consistent. So you don't have super high highs, you don't have really low lows. You're just sort of like, running along the wave of your revenue. So it depends. There's no right way to do this. And I think when we first get started, we get intimidated by the fact that we need to make the same amount of money every single month because that's what we're trained with salaries, but it doesn't actually have to look like that. Your business doesn't have to look like that if that doesn't serve you. Your business can look however you want. And so can getting a resource, right? If you think even about how school looks for us, we're on for 9 months when we go to school. We have a little break for winter when we're gaining resource because we're gaining knowledge, we're gaining information. And then we need downtime for our brains to be like, cool, I am learned out. Like I'm at capacity. I'm going to forget everything. And then we go back to school, right? It's the same thing. Like we don't need to be on this constant cycle of like input all the time. We can have downtime, we can have rest. And we can prepare ourselves for what needs to come next, especially when it comes to revenue in your business. You will need time to replenish yourself because you are being consumed by others when you sell something. So when you are selling a product or a service, or you're even showing up, people are consuming you. And you are consuming a part of them when they buy something from you, right? You're consuming their capital, you're consuming their resource. And it's really important that you replenish yourself after you've sold things. And that's a natural cycle in just living, is the creation consumption cycle, that if you are a little bit like cagey around getting paid for what you do, it might help you to think of. We are constantly in that in motion and in relationship in that way, because everything we do is reciprocal, right? We're giving and receiving constantly. Okay, so when you think about your energetic wave and your energetic blueprint, I want you to break down into quarters how your energetic blueprint or your energetic wave is going to impact your business. The quarters in business, I should have written it on this slide, so my apologies, are quarter 1 is January through March, quarter 2 is April, May, June, quarter 3 is July, August, September, and quarter 4 is October, November, December. When we break down a big goal into bite-sized chunks, it becomes so much more doable. I remember when I first wanted to make 100K as a consultant, it was so much money. I'd only ever made I think my highest salary was $65,000, which felt like so much to me at the time. And it still feels like a lot to me. And I had no idea how to almost double what I was making. And breaking it down and understanding that I had to make, 100 divided by 12 is around 8. Okay, so I have to bill $8,000 a month. And then how can I build, that's still a lot. How can I break that down even more in a more doable way? Well, if my package is $2,000 to work with someone in copywriting, then I only need 4 clients. Okay, great. That's super doable. I bet I can get 4 clients a month. So start to break down your revenue goals into what feels doable for you. For me, this means breaking them down over quarters, because I know I'm going to have in pretty much every quarter, a big revenue jump, or a big tipping point where we're making a substantial amount of revenue. And then everything else is kind of going to be low and easy and breezy. Just honestly breaking our goals down that feel insane into these practical ideas, and then taking out our 1 to 3 revenue streams and assigning how much we want to make in terms of revenue to those 3 different streams. Again, we're just breaking it down, right? And all of a sudden, these ideas that felt so crazy pie in the sky, they start to sketch themselves out and come into reality. Okay. I'm seeing some questions. Oh, this example always loses me because I can't imagine making that much in a month. Yeah, I understand that. I feel like when I first started doing this, that felt like a crazy amount, because like $2,000 felt like an amazing amount of money to be making, because my salary was not that, like I was like, oh, I can't believe someone's going to pay me $2,000 to do this. And I think part of putting yourself in that place or that position for me was helpful, because for me, what was helpful was learning that someone who did something very similar to me, who was a colleague of mine, where at the business that I worked at, where I was making $65,000, they were making like $90,000 for the exact same job with like less output. And I don't think I ever would have started charging more if I didn't see what my value was in the world compared to someone else. And sometimes that's where we need to start. Like, money stuff is complex and complicated. Money is not just energy. Money stores, for some of us, has traumatic elements to it. For some of us, it has generational and ancestral stuff that's attached to it that's not ours, that we're responsible for working through. So I think that this is like not a long slog, but it's a never ending journey and story. And something that might be helpful is a book that I love is The Soul of Money. I really recommend reading it. And then Overcoming Under Earning is another great book. Overcoming Under Earning. I didn't spell earning. I don't think I spelled earning right. I think I just said it endearing. Okay. This question may be best for another class, but how do you gain clients? Oh, babes, did you watch Growth? Because I feel like that is a class that you should watch, and I'll put the link into the chat, but we can talk about that also next week when we talk about retention. But one of the best ways to gain clients is to build community. And actually, Cynthia, you teed me up. The best way to get more clients and to get more people in your orbit is through practicing radical generosity. I promise you that when you ask yourself, what would a radically generous person do in this situation? Your life will change in so many ways. And this sounds so cheesy. I hate using the word abundance, but your life will become abundant. And we can see this even, it sounds like so hippy dippy, but we can see this even in marketing strategy when people give things away for free, right? When you give something away for free, like this class, right, which is an hour long so far, or when you give something away for free, like an ebook, or you give something away for free, like a podcast, right? Podcasts we don't pay for. Can you believe that we don't pay for podcasts? Isn't that crazy? Like, that's crazy. We have to listen to ads, but like, I don't know. I think that that's radically generous. And in marketing strategy, when we give things away for free, amazing things away for free, that attracts our people in, that attracts our community in. But from a sort of more spiritual perspective, everything is reciprocal. We practice reciprocity. So if we are asking people to pay us money, we have to first be open to receiving what is our birthright, which is being resourced in this world, being supported in this world to do our soul's work. And we have to be super willing to reflect that back to someone else by supporting them and resourcing them with what we do. So when we give with radical generosity, when we practice radical generosity is reflected back to us. And that just means like radical giving. So I think that this is the best hack from a spiritual and from a strategic perspective when it comes to making revenue. And to practice radical generosity, not out of desperation and not out of like, well, if I do this, then I'm going to make more money, but to actually feel it and to ask yourself, what would a radically generous person do in this moment? Because there's a difference between a desperate person and a generous person. Subtle, but there's a difference, right? Someone who is maybe has codependent tendencies, right? They might act out of a manipulative and that's not necessarily bad, that connotation, but they might act out of an expectation that they're going to get something in return. Whereas radical generosity is practicing giving without any expectation and just trusting that like it will eventually come back. And even if it doesn't come back, that's okay too, because part of the gift is the giving and being generous. So that's my hot take. That to me, that's the best way to increase your revenue, if that's what you care about, or that's something that you care about, because it's probably not the only thing you care about because you're here, is to be radically generous. And that goes across the board. How can I be radically generous to my customers? How can I be radically generous with the vendors that I work with? How can I be radically generous with my team? How can I be radically generous with myself? What would it be like if I practiced radical generosity with myself in my work? I would definitely stop taking advantage of myself. I would definitely pay myself a salary, and I would pay myself a nice salary. I would definitely give myself time to rest. Do you see how this, just practicing this and actually holding it up, can completely change the way that you run your business and how you treat yourself and how you treat other people? Does that make sense? Give me a sign. Okay, cool. Nice. Yes. Okay, fabulous. Okay, great. In this context, 8K a month seems so reasonable. Yay. Yes. Okay. Yes. Revenue equals receiving. I love that. Yes. And receiving is like, we are constantly giving and receiving all day long. We are constantly creating and consuming all day long. Consuming is receiving too. It is hard as fuck, but you can do it. You're very brave and you're very strong. So you can do it. You can be radically generous with yourself. Maybe that's what we all need. No, I'm not going to say that. That's what I need, is what would radical generosity with myself look like? Because I have codependent tendencies and perfectionist tendencies, and I usually overgive to other people. And then I feel depleted and icky. And so how can I offer myself the same radical generosity that I offer to other people? Because I'll be a much better person, and I'll also be a much more giving person if I operate from that space. Okay. Damn, I'm sweaty. All right, so let's wrap this bad boy up and then let's answer questions. So revenue goals review. If you have the time to take 15 minutes after this, you can go over these. First, consider the ecosystem. How does revenue impact the rest of your business? How is it going to impact your growth? Are you going to need to grow your community to a certain number in order to reach revenue? Remember, go back to that formula, which is number of community members multiplied by your conversion rate equals your revenue, right? So we know that our community and our revenue are directly connected. How does retention play into your revenue? Because you don't want to just spend all of your time accumulating more people, right? We want to nourish the people who are our consumers, who are our customers, who are our community. We want to keep them around for a long time, not to like suck the life out of them, but because we can offer them something of value. We can help them. We can offer them a solution to the problem that they have. And then finally, the impact. If you make, I love this. Like the more money I make, we give 10% of our profits to anti-oppression organizations at the end of the year. That means the more money I make, the more money I can give away. That's fucking cool. The more money I make, the more like scholarships that I can offer, the more sliding scale products I can offer, the more free stuff like this I can offer and make, because I know that my business is supported from the financial perspective, which means I have so much more freedom to show up and just like do my shit for free or for very, very, very low cost. And that is like awesome to me. That's like, honestly, that's my main revenue driver. That's why I want to make more money, is because that means I can give more stuff away for free and I can help more people. Okay, then we're going to think about the what, right? Like, how the fuck do we do this? Great in theory, but how is this actually going to get executed? Are you going to sell a product? Are you going to sell a service? Are you going to sell both? Get crazy. Who knows? Pick 1 to 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 or 3 or 2, who knows? Revenue streams to start. You can always add on more complexity later, but start small and really perfect and learn about your community and your audience and what it is that they want to buy. And then you can scale that. It's so much easier to scale that later. You can add a comma to your revenue by productizing your service. So if you're an acupuncturist, you could create a product that is an herbal product, right? That is something that you can sell your clients or your customers so that they don't have to come in for you to poke needles into them and to change their lives, right? And then finally, think about your energetic wave. So how does this scope out over the next year? And what is this going to look like? Is it going to be just one flat line? Holisticism's business certainly isn't that, but if you have that, amazing, and that's what you want, amazing. Are you going to build in peaks and valleys for yourself? Are you going to build in rest time for yourself? Is that meaningful and important to you? What type of business and how does that impact your revenue or the revenue goals that you do have? And what will you need to prepare or systematize to make that happen? So what's the groundwork that you need to lay from your growth perspective, from your retention perspective, from your impact perspective, that's going to help you get there, right? For example, if you know that you are going to sell open the doors on your service, let's say you open the doors on a service once a month, you're going to spend probably 2 weeks doing the marketing, laying the groundwork, reaching out to people, connecting with partnerships to grow your community and to grow your audience, so that when you open the doors on that service that you offer, you have an influx of people who know what you do and know what you provide, who want to book with you, right? And then you're going to want to think about after that, for the 2 weeks after that, how you also are going to retain them, right? So that you don't just work with them one time. These are all the things that we want to think about. Okay. Yeah. Shout out to acupuncturists, the real MVPs of the pandemic, I feel like. Okay. So that's it. Those are the 4 pillars of intuitive business: growth, revenue, retention, impact. Today, we talked about revenue. Last week, we talked about growth. I'll drop the link to the growth class here, and I'll also send the replay through with this replay. But I'm talking about retention next week. And I feel like retention is not super sexy, but it's really important. And it actually is really sexy. It's secretly sexy, and really interesting to talk about. So if you liked this class, I think it will be helpful for you. And I think it's almost like a twin to revenue, personally. And then the week after that, right before Christmas, I'll be talking about impact. And those are the 4 pillars of intuitive business. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I thought you were delightful. I'm going to stay for questions. I'm done. So what have you got for me? You're welcome. You're welcome. You are so welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this lady off, and we'll go big. We'll go big, or we'll go True Gem. Thank you. Okay. All right. Yeah. And if you liked this, one of the best ways to help spread the word is to just post about it on IG. You can take a picture of me right now, or you can say how much you liked it, or you can send next week's class to a friend, because that's cool too. Oh, and if you liked this, North Node is opening up at the end of the month. So if you're like, I love this shit, fuck, I think I love intuitive business, we talk all about this in the North Node, and we'd love to have you in there. We have a community of like 300 amazing people who just fucking kick ass. So that's coming. Crystal, can you explain the add a comma to productize? Yeah, that's just like stupid language that I used. But adding a comma, meaning like if we wanted to increase our profits, like we add a comma. So to go from like 100,000, you would add a comma to make $1 million. One of the easiest ways to add a comma and to scale, that's like to scale a business, would be to make a product out of the service that we offer. And then eventually, if you go from a service-based business to also creating a product out of your service, right? Here we go. There we go. Great. You can scale amazingly here, and you can live here if you want. And then eventually you might actually want to go back to a service-based business, but you want to bring your service up here. So you make it much more expensive because you've got a really affordable, my hands are all flipped. You've got a really affordable product that you've made that's accessible and scalable. So if that's something that's important to you, if you're like, I want to make sure that I can help as many people as possible, and that you don't need to have like millions of dollars in order to work with me, it's possible to create a product that's really affordable and then to increase your service prices. So maybe you want to do something like a mastermind where people are paying you $25,000 a year just to like spend an hour of time with you once a month. That's a service, but it's a very expensive service that obviously far fewer people can partake in. So that's what I mean by adding a comma. It just means that we're scaling ourselves and our work because we have limited number of hours in the day. So when it comes to a service-based business, one of the easiest ways to make more money is to make a product out of it. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Oh, you guys, thanks for your thanks. I really appreciate it. Rose, any tips on adapting your business to your work style? How do you mean? I think that, well, the first thing to know maybe is that you get to do whatever the fuck you want. So if you like want to, however you want to run your business is how you should. There's no right way to do it. Even like what I gave you today, like that's not the only way to run a business. It's the way that I like to run my business. And you might also like it too, but you can also take what I say with a grain of salt. So I think start with your anti-goals. Like, what is it that you don't stand for in your business and in your work? I'm trying to think of things that were important to me when I first got started that I thought I needed to do that I actually didn't. Networking. So I thought when I first started my business that like everyone told me I had to always be networking and meeting people and going to meetings and having coffees. And I'm really introverted. I rarely like putting on a bra. I super hate driving and I live in LA. So the last thing that I want to do is put on a bra and go drive to meet someone most of the time. And I just built into my business that I don't really do networking coffees. I don't really do events like that anymore because they don't add value to my life. So the way that I meet people is through friends of friends or doing other, like participating in other things. But that's probably something that many business owners would say is a major no-no and that I'm missing out on so many opportunities because of, but I really like my life. So I think it's great. Morgan, how do we determine our energetic waves if our energy seems to be super inconsistent? I find it really hard to plan for this type of stuff because I have no clue consistent or intense how highs or lows will be for me. Example, if you struggle with mental illness. Yeah, I think figure out what your baseline is. And maybe I can speak like I'll share a little bit personally. So I have depression and I feel like who doesn't at this point, but I also have epilepsy, which is a seizure disorder. So there are just some things that I can't do. Like I can't not sleep. Like I have to get sleep. I also like can't experience certain levels of stress because when I do, that triggers seizures for me, or it triggers seizure activity, which is really uncomfortable, or it triggers migraines, which is obviously also really uncomfortable. So for me, I know that those are few and far between, and that my trick is like, all right, it rarely happens that I get to the point where I feel like I'm about to have a seizure or where I'm about to get a migraine. And it does sometimes happen. So I have a contingency plan. And I also know what my baseline energy levels are when I take care of myself. And something that can also really help is having a team and creating a contingency plan with your team or with your support network, right? That's all that a team is. So on our team, we have basically like open mental health where if someone is experiencing something or going through something, we have a contingency plan, meaning that we all step in and say, all right, so-and-so needs to take the next 2 weeks off unexpectedly because of mental health. They tell us, here's where I need support, and then we fill in the rest. And also like prioritizing, I think what helps is prioritizing what matters to you in your business, because we get stressed and we get a sense of urgency when we are prioritizing things that actually don't matter to us, that we feel like we need to get done. And that's when we practice those things at the expense, or we show up for work at the expense of our well-being. And I don't know about you, but my well-being is at the center of my work, because if I can't do this, then like, what's the point? I don't know if that was helpful, Morgan, but I would say to recap, figure out what your energetic wave is, your baseline when you're feeling healthy and good, or when you're taking care of yourself. I don't want to even want to say healthy, because you're healthy pretty much all the time. When you're taking care of yourself and you're doing the things that you need to do, and then have a contingency plan for the times that you just can't show up in the way that you want to show up, and give yourself grace and practice radical generosity with yourself. That's tough. Hey, okay. I'd love to hear examples from your business on product, from your biz on product versus services that became products. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, so I worked in tech for a really long time. And I also, oh my gosh, well, I created, let me go back. Gosh, how do I make this a really short story? Okay, here's how I'm going to frame it. So when I first started working on holisticism, I worked with a bunch of independent practitioners, wellness practitioners, to help them run their businesses. And I like organized the back end of their businesses for them. I helped them write emails. I like took a high level perspective on what they were doing and then helped them apply everything I'd learned in technology to their actual business. And I realized that there was an amazing opportunity there. So to help practitioners build businesses. So I actually built a technical product. I built software, which is a product. And that was to help practitioners run from the beginning of a service all the way through to the end of that experience. So an end-to-end user experience from booking, scheduling, payment processing, the actual session, which was virtual, and then follow-up. And then consistently reaching back out to that customer. So customer retention management. And what I found was that while that product was great, actually so many practitioners needed the bare basic bones before that. They actually didn't need the product. They needed a service. They needed one-on-one help, even understanding how businesses worked. And so I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, great. Before they can actually use this product that I've made, I need to teach them and help them and show them how they can run an intuitive business and how it doesn't have to be scary. So then I went back to the service and I fixed my service elements, right? And I like dug deeper on what it was that people needed help with. And I practiced with people, and I had clients that I worked with to scale and grow their businesses. And then eventually I had a product that I could sell because I'd created this system or framework. And that's where IWA came in. And so the Infinite Well Accelerator was our first product that we made. And then I've spent a decade building content and making content and doing that as a practitioner, not as a practitioner, as a consultant, really. And so I had a really clear framework, because that was how I made my money when I was running Holisticism, for how to make profitable content and how to really scope out profitable content. And so that was our second product, the Profitable Content Creator Lab. And then we've got the North Node, which is our membership community. So I hope that that answers your question, Erica. I'm so excited about the North Node. Me too. North Node rocks. Yeah, it does. Okay. Totally sharing with a friend of mine. Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Stephanie, would you mind sharing again how you calculate your conversion when you're at the beginning stages and you don't have email marketing? Yeah, you would have to just practice, because you can't calculate it without selling something. So you got to go ovary up, and you got to go out and sell something, and you have to start. I would say you don't have to do anything. I strongly recommend that you start an email list, because that's going to give you the most accurate conversion rate, unless you're tracking conversions on your webpage. So that's another way to track your conversion rate. You could track your conversions by seeing how many people buy your product and then running that against how many people land on that landing page. You can find this on your analytics on your website, either with Google Analytics, or if you have Squarespace or Wix, it should tell you that too. So you'll take the number of people that landed on your webpage or that saw your product, you'll multiply that by your conversion rate, or you'll figure out how many you actually sold, and that will give you your conversion rate. Make sense? Okay, great. Do people really pay that? For masterminds, I think you're asking. Yeah, people pay more than that. When it comes to partnering with people, would you recommend working with someone doing something very similar to you or something different? I don't know. Can you give me some more context? Do you mean like in like making a product or making a service or in hiring someone? It's so different. I'll look for your answer. Oh, I see a ton of, okay. I see a ton of questions. I'll wait for that one. So, or you can unmute whoever asked this question. Diana, I think. Collaborations with people to build my community. Go back and watch the growth class, because I talked about this a ton. But I'd say pick the people that you're most jealous of and build your community with them, or like collaborate with them, because that usually means that they have something that you want, or that you see in yourself that you want. It's like our shadow, right? We often project the best parts of ourselves onto other people, because we can't own our own gold, our inner gold. And also think about your audience subsets. So you don't want to, let's say like, I used the example of Playboy last week in Holisticism. So Holisticism's community of people are intuitive entrepreneurs, right? And people who are interested in the wellness space. So it probably wouldn't be a good fit for us to collaborate with someone who is a surf brand. Even though their surf brand could be really cool and all about like female empowerment and equity, that'd be sweet, but that's like kind of not really what we do. And I would assume that the overlap of similar like clientele would be relatively small. It depends on the brand, but I think you want to pick people who are adjacent or who are like shoulder industry to you, meaning that you're relatively similar and the Venn diagram of your customers overlaps. So there's some similarities there in the people that you're working with. Okay. Okay. Peggy, do you get a sense whether live workshops are trending better these days versus pre-recorded digital workshop or product? I feel like since COVID-19, I have no patience spending more time in front of a computer, especially if there's no interaction. Ooh, this is a good question. Peggy, I tend to be like you. Also, just the likelihood that people usually watch a replay is extremely low. So to me, it's so important that people show up live, because the odds that you're going to watch this later, if you're watching this later, I love you, you're great, you're an anomaly, but the odds that people are going to watch something that's pre-recorded is relatively low. And also they're just not going to pay as much attention to it, right? They're going to be like doing other stuff and busy, and the energy isn't necessarily there. That's not to say that pre-recorded products don't work. They absolutely do, especially if we're thinking about things like time poverty. So if equity is important to you, there are plenty of people who wouldn't be able to join this class today because they work a day job and they can't take an hour to watch this class. And no matter when I scheduled this class, whether I scheduled it at 7 o'clock at night Pacific time or 6 a.m., there would be someone in the world who has a conflict with that. So creating pre-recorded options, you can do both, affords you more accessibility, right? It gives you the opportunity to allow more people to engage in the work that you do. I would say try both. Try selling your product. I think it works best to teach a product live for the first time, or the second time or the third time, and then eventually to record it and then to sell that recording, because you learn so much when you're teaching live. So that's my perspective, but you should also do what you like. So if you get so much energy and you feel amazing teaching people live, then that's what you should do. Or if you are the opposite and you're super shy like me and you'd rather teach people be it pre-recorded, then that's cool too. Michelle, can you share tips around engaging with partners for sponsoring and collaboration? I am going to direct you to last week's class, because I feel like I talked a ton about that. And if I have time at the end of this, I'll come back to this question, especially if people want to know about it. How do you charge more without feeling like it's gatekeeping only a service that people with a high income can afford? That's the wall I keep hitting. I think that if that's what you're feeling, then you should create opportunities either for free services that you do, or free products, or something for free that you can offer people that doesn't take away from your energy. Or you create a lower cost offering or a lower cost product. So there's always ways to create more accessibility in the work that we do. For example, if you're a nutritionist and you know that it costs you $500 an hour to work with someone because of all the work that you have to do, and you can't possibly charge less than that and still make sure that you're supported, there are still so many ways that you can help people for free. You can create blog content, you can create a podcast, you can make you can pop on IG Live and just answer questions for an hour a week, right? And you're still helping people, you're still offering them support, and you're doing that for free. So think about the ways that you can, either at a super low cost or for free, continue to support people and offer them resources. I think that that's the best way to sort of wrap your head around charging more and creating more accessibility. As a licensed clinician, I sell my service. I tend to have interest in several different healing methods to use eclectically. Cool. As I learn more about each method, I can get bored and move on to the next quickly. How would you recommend ways to stay in one lane at a time and ensure I'm building strength in the method that I'm selling? I think that this comes down to, instead of focusing on a modality, right, like crystals or tarot or sound, focusing on the actual solution that you're providing. Because depending on the person, they might need a different pathway to that solution. So you say that you're a therapist, so maybe you prioritize, like, what you specialize in and how you help people transform is you take them from burnt out to replenished and stress-free, right? And so you're teaching them ways to take care of themselves. Well, I'm very different from Sharona, and we both might be your ideal client. And so when I come to you, I might need all the tarot and all the breath work, and Sharona might be the opposite. She might actually just want to talk to you, or she might just want meditations, but you can still provide us with the same transformation, right? Helping us go from burnt out to like feeling zen as fuck and rejuvenated and glowy. Look at Sharona, she's already glowing just talking about it. So like, I think that that is actually the solution. So often we get caught up in the tools and the techniques that that get us to a place, when in reality, you are the thing that's helping someone transform, and your unique perspective and the way that you approach the person. And the tools that you have in your toolkit are awesome. but the tools don't do the work. You do the work. The tools just help you like get someone there, right? And they help you communicate with people in different ways depending on what their needs are. So I hope that answers the question. Michelle, what do you say then to those people need to know? Okay, you're gonna have to tell me what that's referring to. Sorry, I'm trying to go as fast as I can. Sorry, Christina. Do you have any processes or recommendations for deciding to what to price your product at? Yes, I've been using Akashic Records since becoming a student of yours, but wondering if there's another method that you recommend. Yeah, pricing is hard. The first thing I would say, and if you're in the North Node, I just recorded an uncrossing call on this. So if you like want to go even deeper and talk for half an hour on figuring out where to start pricing, then that's coming for you this month. But the first thing is that this is an experiment. So inevitably, you're going to get it wrong. You're going to charge people probably too low. And then you're going to have to increase your prices because that's just what happens, especially when we're putting a product out for the first time. It's a beta version of the product. It's the first time the product has ever been seen by real people, probably. So there are going to be things that you want to change, that you want to evolve, that you want to adapt, that you want to pump up. And you're giving people a discount most of the time for joining you early and saying like, okay, I trust you and believe in you. So know that when you first get started, your prices are probably going to go up. I think that helps to know because you're never going to go lower than that, right? You're only going to increase the price on it. And that can help you figure out like what your ceiling is. So if you never want to have a product that's more than $1,000, but you start your course at $800, then you don't have a lot of wiggle room, right? That could be bad or not, depends on you and whatever it is that you want to get done. So that's a pragmatic perspective to offer. I really appreciate pulling tarot cards for this. I also really like using the pendulum. If you use tarot cards, you can ask, I think what helps when it comes to pricing is not like, what's the number, right? Because like the number doesn't matter. The number really doesn't matter, really, like truly. People a lot of times will say like price doesn't really matter. People will find the money to buy the thing. And like, I don't know if that's necessarily true. If they say they'll find the money if they really want the product. I don't know if that's necessarily true because class exists and financial scarcity, like people are not the same. Like $1,000 to one person is not the same as $1,000 to another person. So I don't know about that. But what I do know is that it doesn't matter like where I price something if I don't believe in it. Like I could have the exact same product and say it's $1,000 over here and not say it with my full chest and not believe it. And then I could have the, again, exact same product and say it's actually $2,000 and I'd probably sell more of the one that I actually believe that I'm saying with my full chest, right? So I think you have to figure out what the value of the product is for you. And ways that you can do that are by talking to your Akashic Records, but also asking the tarot. So like I would ask the tarot to give you more information about why the product is valuable. Who is this for and how is it going to help them? What will help them see or help them understand? What do you need to know about the value of it and why you're not seeing the full value of it? Because as we get this more like dimensional view of whatever our product or service is, we can come to a better conclusion at what the actual value is and what we can price it at. So if I were, for example, to get the information from my Akashic Records or from the tarot that this product will help people see their innate value as human beings on this planet and healers, I'm like, oh my God, I can't charge only $150 for that. Are you kidding me? That's like so important and valuable. And to charge anything less than that wouldn't honor like the important work that has to go into this and that people have to be prepared and ready for. Also, you can just pull tarot and there's numbers on your tarot cards. If you really want to do it that way, you can figure out what the price is that way. I mean, go try it. I feel like that's really fun. I also use the pendulum. So I'll take the pendulum out and be like, all right, is it between like $100 and $300? And it'll say yes or no. And if it says yes, I'm like, okay, is it between 150 and 250? And then just like narrow it down and figure out what the price is. The pendulum is always, to me, like is always right. It is always extremely correct. So that's my recommendation. Okay. With a product-based business, Melissa, how do you diversify offerings without feeling salesy? Because I don't like to sell myself. to work on retention and serving your community. I think that either way, not being salesy, first, like a couple of things. It's none of your business where people spend money or how they spend their money. So you don't need to tell them how to spend their money or why they should spend their money on you. It's not your job, not your responsibility. Also, when you're selling, you're selling something, you're offering something to be consumed, right? And to be enjoyed and delighted in. If you, when you're offered Bon Iver tickets, or you can buy Bon Iver tickets or Lady Gaga tickets or Harry Styles tickets, you're not like, oh my God, I can't believe Harry Styles is selling himself again, right? You're like, oh my God, I can't wait to delight and indulge in that thing because I love it and it's going to be amazing. And that's effectively what we're doing when we're selling a product or a service. We're opening ourselves up to be delighted and enjoyed by the people who partake in whatever it is that we do. And that's a gift. And that's fucking cool, right? And there's an energetic exchange that naturally happens there. And that also means that like the people who see your value will see your value. You don't need to convince someone of your value. In fact, what we often want to do when we're selling ourselves or we're selling something is tell them exactly how we can help them and then let them decide if that's for them or not. That's way more empowering to me than being like, please buy my thing. Come join me. Like, we really want to have you. I just want to be like, yo, here's my shit. If you like it, cool. If you don't like it, that's also cool. We're probably not right for each other. Great, make your decision. I hope that we're right for each other because that's great and I want more friends, but like, it's also okay if we're not, whatever. So I don't know if that was helpful. Sorry, Melissa. I don't think it really was, but maybe it's just the reframe of like, you're not selling yourself. You're offering an opportunity for people to enjoy and delight in you. And like, that's all. Why hide that? Why steal that opportunity from people? And you're not holding a gun to anyone's head and saying like, you need to work with me. You're just offering them an option. At the end of the day, they get to make the choice. What does a contingency plan look like for someone that solely runs their business? It looks like having a standard operating procedure for the things that you do. So if there is anything that needs to get done that only you know how to do, you have a procedure where you can either hire someone quickly to take over like a VA, or you can ask a friend to help. And there's a clear procedure as how to do that if your business can't run without that thing happening. Or I think it means actually having a business plan that affords you spaciousness for downtime, meaning that you don't always have to be selling things, or you don't always have to be online, or you don't always have to be answering emails. And that looks completely different depending on what you and your business and how you want to approach it. Okay. All right. Oh, Christina meant coffee dates, but I think she just left. Okay. Harry Styles all the way. It's easy to forget that our people love us. It's true. Okay, cool. What do you think about charging your worth? I think that that's really confusing. Great question, Christina. But like, I don't know. I've always found that to be so confusing. I'm just going to speak from the eye. Like, I'm fucking invaluable. That I can't put a price on me. I can't. Like, maybe what I told you today is going to earn you millions of dollars in the future. How? I gave you this shit for free, right? Like, I can't put a actual value on that. So I don't know if charging my worth, like that doesn't feel empowering to me. What feels empowering is like thinking about what it is that I need to feel well resourced, and like, what do I need to make sure that I can take vacations and that I can like go take a bath in the middle of the day if I need to, or open up a bottle of wine, or to not work on Wednesdays because I don't want to, or to take maternity leave if I ever eventually decide to have a kid, so that I don't have to like work my ass off while I'm also pregnant and like grumpy as hell because I know I'm going to be fucking grumpy, you know, like, I don't know if charging my worth is as related to those things. I think what's more related is how can I create support around myself for the things that I want, and that And how can I like sort of reverse engineer that in my business thinking about products, thinking about services, thinking about retention, thinking about the impact that I want to have. So what do I need in order to do all the things that I want to do? If I want to so here's something I'm working on. If you're still with me, great. You just leveled up. I mean, like you're going to get secret knowledge, information that only backstage holisticism people get. We eventually want to invest in wellness businesses and in individuals. And we want to give them something called a shared earnings agreement, which is completely different than a typical investment would be. Typical VC investment or angel investment can feel really like skeevy and gross and predatory. And I don't want to do that. But I do want to give people the opportunity to get access to capital that might not get access to it regularly, and to support them in that way, because it's one way that we can provide resource. In order to get there, I have to make a lot more money. Like I have to make a lot more revenue with holisticism. But that definitely is something that motivates me and drives me to think about how I'm going to charge for what it is that we do here. Because I know that that's going to be that's the creation consumption cycle, right? I'm going to be consuming from other people in order to create more opportunity, to create something new. So anyways, that's a long answer of, I don't know about charging for your worth, but I think about some other things. And if that works for you, awesome. Like if that feels great, do it. But to me, that was always so confusing when people are like, charge your worth. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a person. I don't have I don't have a dollar number. Okay. Where can I get a good pendulum? I made mine with floss and with a crystal. So I don't know where you can get a good one, but I made mine with dental floss. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Sharona says she got hers from a crystal shop. I don't have a go-to place. Ethan's floss, not even my floss, because I don't buy floss. Man, best place to find out your human design. There's some good classes in the liminal library. I would say, oh, did you just hear my voice crack? I would say like if you can invest in a reading, get a reading, because human design is confusing, I think. I have a small brain, so maybe that's it. But I would invest in a reading if you could. And also My Body Graph is cool. My Body Graph. I also learned so much from Instagram. Like maybe that's not a good place to be learning about human design, but I feel like all the memes, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. There's so many people I love who are amazing. Okay, what's the most valuable lesson the world of tech has to teach intuitive entrepreneurs? Actually, this is a great question. To actually think about your business as a business. And that like, and not to be so precious about what you do, and to just try and experiment with a lot of things, and to continue innovating. And also to get really, really clear on what it is that you're here to provide. Like, what is your value proposition, and how can you do that astronomically well? But I think there's a lot of things that tech like should not teach intuitive entrepreneurs, because it's really fucked up in a lot of ways. So there's that. Also like scaling businesses. Tech companies are great at being scrappy and working with a small budget and making really big things happen. And I think, well, the best thing that I learned from working in tech was like just to believe in yourself and to go after things and to just try them. Like the number of idiot male 20-something bosses that I had that were just like, let's ask someone for $30 million and see if they give it to us. Who got it? I was like, these people that's all you have to do. That's crazy. And that really inspired me to just like go after it, and seeing them not know what they were doing. Like, I think that that's another thing that tech can teach us. Like, you actually don't have to know what you're doing. You just have to just go and try your best, and like be open to failing and iterating and continuing to learn. So that's what I learned. Okay. Wow. That was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be. And that was a really good question. Thank you for asking it. Is there anything else? I'm so glad I had coffee before this. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? Thanks, Crystal. Thanks for coming to class, everyone. And thanks for staying extra long. Man, super troopers. I love you so much. It's mutual. I love it. Yay. My people, my internet people, I love you. Anything else that we want to discuss? Any questions? I hope you're all coming to retention next week. I think it's going to be great. And if you want to learn more about revenue stuff and you want a little bit behind the scenes of holisticism, we released a podcast episode today that I was super nervous to release because I didn't want to sound like a douchebag, but it's the 6 keys to 6 figures. And if you want to like double click on that and specifically, it might be helpful. But we talked, there's a little bit of overlap around what we talked about today. Okay, 6 figs next year. Yeah, love it. We love to see it. Okay, cool. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for coming to class. I'll send you the replay of this, but you're here, so you're like, I don't really want to watch it again. But in case you do, I don't know. And I'll also send you last week's class on growth. Shrona's laughing at me. And next week's on retention. And if there's anything else that comes up, just shoot me a note. I think most of you have my phone number. Thank you. I love being a blue hologram. And stay cool out there. Stay sexy. And I'll see you on the internet super soon. Okay, bye. Thanks for staying. Love you.